Hey everybody, John Van Dyke here for New Jersey Exposed. Today is Saturday, June, what is it? 5th. June 5th, 2021. And of course everybody wants to know what time it is. And the time is 6:31 Jersey time. Now somebody said out there, you know, I lived and worked in Jersey. What the hell is this Jersey time thing? Well, dude, to you out there that said that, some people listen to music, and some people feel the music. So my question to you, sir, when you listen to music, do you hear it or do you feel it? Okay, so we have an update on Audrey Capps. Any of you out there remember who Audrey Capps is? Should I play the Jeopardy theme right now? Well, fortunately you have me to remind you who Audrey Capps is. Audrey Capps was body slammed by former officer from Millville, New Jersey, Joseph Dixon. He stopped her on a motor vehicle stop with suspicion of DUI. He went to put the handcuffs on her and she turned away and said, "I'd like to call my husband." And he proceeded to do a judo flip on her, a hip throw. And when he came down, he landed with all his weight on top of her, and I believe he broke 7 of her ribs, and I think 1 had to be removed, if I remember right. So he's a real tough guy. He also is the poster boy here in New Jersey for the most use of force. He had over 50 incidents of use of force. So he hurt this poor woman and everything.
John,
so,
was that the record for the state? 50, I think?
I believe he was the top dog, yes. He was the poster boy.
Wow.
And when they asked the chief about it, the chief just said he's a good boy doing his job. And so I'll try to find a link to the original story, because this is about going on about 2 years now. And you can go back and hear the original story that I did. So anyway, the reason we're talking now is just to update what has happened. Now, Joseph Dixon has been fired. He was charged, what was he charged with, Tim?
He pled guilty to 2 counts of third-degree aggravated assault.
Yeah, two counts of...
third-degree aggravated assault.
What's going on here?
So he's a felon. The chief's good
He's
boy.
a felon, yeah. Well, anyway, the chief, in my opinion, facilitated this idiot because the writing was on the wall. I've looked up other officers with forced use of force, and most of them have like 4, 5, or 6.
Even 8 or 9's getting up there for the year.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of times just because they had they had to restrain somebody putting, whatever it is, it's bullshit stuff. But when you're up in the 50s count, there's a problem. And he also had a prior incident with another woman, which has also got a lawsuit against him. So this was not the first time that he assaulted women. And as we all know, cops love to hurt women. That's one of their the number one go thing to is to hurt women. They don't respect women for whatever reason.
He was using these women as judo dummies, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to read a story real quick here, give you an update on him, and then we're going to go off to another thing about the story. So this is in the Daily Journal. It says, former officer sentenced in abuse cases gets probation but can avoid jail. So he got himself another little sweetheart deal. This jackass should have been in jail as far as I'm concerned, but you know how it goes, right, people?
And John, if that was you or I that was charged with 2
felony...
felony...
Forget about it. We'd be in jail with no bail.
I'd be in jail till I could collect Social Security.
Right. So anyway, so this reads as follows. This was dated January 17, 2020, so it's a little over a year. I didn't really follow up a lot on this story. A former Millville police officer who broke 7 ribs of a female suspect and injured another woman a month later faces no jail time under a negotiated sentence handed down here on Friday in Cumberland County Superior Court. Always with the deals. Enough with the damn deals. Joseph Dixon, who resigned last year over the excessive force allegations, was sentenced to 2 years of probation plus a jail term of 364 days. Now, here's the question for you. This is a pop quiz. And I've talked about this before in the past. Why is it only 364 days? Well, Tim, you want to explain to everybody why it's 364 days and not 366 days?
Yes, sir. Because here in the great state or the People's Republic of New Jersey, however you choose to see it, jail terms under 1 year, under 365 days, are served in county.
That's right.
Jail terms 1 year or longer are served in state prison.
Right. So if he's in a county jail, he's going to be a little more closely watched and taken care of. This is the same deal that they gave Jake Pascucci, the drunk from Long Branch Police, who killed that woman. They gave him 364 days, but he has yet to spend 1 day behind the bars, and he actually got his sentence reduced, and he's looking to go back to get it reduced even more. So anyway, let's carry on. However, Judge Robert Malstein conditionally suspended the jail sentence. Dixon will not serve time in jail if he successfully completes his probationary term, the judge ordered. So imagine that. You get sentenced for, so you're really being sentenced for anything? Yeah, you're going to get 2 years of jail, and we're going to suspend that, and if you do your 2 years of probation, we'll wipe that out.
They're doing everything else except
They
setting
are
his
bending
conviction.
over backwards for this bum. Because it's not just the woman's ribs that he broke, it's the money that he's going to cost the taxpayers. Okay,
And the
carrying
black
on.
eye that he cast for that police department.
Right, exactly. However, so anyway, the State Attorney General's Office prosecuted Dixon based on an investigation by the State Office of Public Integrity and accountability to the office use of force record. The County Prosecutor's Office assisted in the investigation. This prosecution reflects our resolve to hold officers accountable. That's a bunch of crap. Because if you want to hold him accountable, put his ass in jail.
Make an example out of him.
Right. Put him in jail, because I'm going to tell you one thing's going to happen. So he'll do the 2 years probation. It'll be no problem. He ain't that stupid. He'll do it. And then what's the next thing he's going to do after that in a couple of years, Matt?
Expunge his record.
Expunge his record.
Move
That's
to
right.
another state.
Yeah, move to another state. Prosecutor reflects a resolve to hold office accountable if they use violent force against civilians without justification. Attorney General Gerber Grewal, that's AKAG 711, said in an announcing statement, when officers use force that has no reasonable relationship to any existence or threat they face, as Dixon did, they not only injure and traumatize those involved, they do a tremendous disservice to all of their fellow officers. Yeah, well, there was another officer that stood by and did nothing about it. That officer didn't go over and arrest him for assaulting that woman. He stood there and helped. After the woman was slammed to the ground, got her ribs broke, he's helping him put the handcuffs on her.
Probably would have helped cover up if he could.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let me ask you a question, John. Now
You just did. He just asked me a question.
Very observant of you, Father.
Okay.
But now here's my question for you.
Don't
from
do that.
From your perspective.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you give Grewal props for this? Or do you feel that the lightness of this sentence diminishes any efforts that the Attorney General made? And it also diminishes making an example that this kind of conduct.
I don't think the Attorney General's office did anything with this case that lifts my skirt. Because you have a guy who has a history of violence, use of force, he's the poster boy, okay? He body slammed her. There's no reason to use that kind of force. The woman weighs 100 pounds, she's 50. You see in the video, I'm going to put the video.
And he's a big guy. Dixon's
He's
a big
tall guy.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for that. She resisted arrest by turning away. She didn't run. She just said, wait, let me call him. You're going to see in the video anyway. And she said, wait. And he just took her and threw her down. And it's like, first of all, what kind of respect do you have for women to treat a woman like that? Regardless of whether she's DWI or not, why would you even do that to a woman? So the question is, what else does he do to women when nobody's looking?
What else is that department covered up
So
for?
I am not impressed by what the Attorney General office did. They should have demanded that he get a jail time. I would have been happy if he spent 90 days in jail and then be put on probation for 2.5 years, whatever, you know. So 2 years of probation plus whatever remaining jail time, the 2 year sentence.
And you know something, John? You and I, for the last, year and a half, we've been really trumpeting or patting this Attorney General on the back for his efforts to make law enforcement more accountable. Well, he is
doing something.
But, you know, and that's the point that I was going to arrive at, or the point I was going to lead to, was that it's cases like these that really make you wonder whether or not he's talking out of both sides of his mouth.
Well, it's cases like this one here. You got the Jake Pascucci deal where he killed that woman, had to spend a day in jail, okay? Then you got the latest one, the meth lab guy. What's going to happen with him? And then my other favorite one, which is the Richard Conti from Howell Township, Mr. I want to have sex with a 15-year-old, and was allegedly using the police headquarters computer to arrange some of these dates that he
How
wanted to
many
have.
years old is the Conti case at this point? 3?
Conti is into 2 years now. Inside sources at NJ.com got back to me and said that the case is waiting to go to trial. So obviously he feels, his lawyer feels that they've got a case against to fight. But really what it comes down to is he has to beat that child luring charge to get that dropped, because otherwise he's going to be a registered sex offender, right? Am I wrong on that one?
Nope.
So that's not looking good for him. And the other deal is that Conti he's 49, he already had
Almost 20, if not 20.
almost 20 years in, so here in New Jersey they can retire at 20, so he did get fired. As far as I know, he was fired. He didn't resign. He should have resigned, the dummy, but he got fired from his job. So the question is, will he still be able to work a deal and get his pension? I hope
And
not.
I know that you've disagreed with me a little bit about that in the past, but I do think that Kudrick, I understand he had a lot of constitutional and legal restraints on him as to what he could do in the Conti case, but I do think that
Well, as soon as he was indicted, he was
Yes.
fired right away.
Yes, but I think that a lot.
But it's amazing that if you or I or him, I'll give an example. The one over here in Long Branch, the meth lab guy, he gets arrested. He's sitting in jail. They won't release him. Or last I checked, he's still sitting in jail, and this has been a week now. And he's not fired. But if you and I didn't show up to work because we were sitting in jail, what are the odds that you still have your job? Is your employer going to say, you know what, I'm going to use my voice. You're in jail, so you got arrested, so we're going to have a little committee. We'll get everybody together. We'll have a little committee to decide whether we should keep you on board. No, the judge says, your boss says, you didn't show up, you big jerk, you're fired. Anyway, let me carry on. Dixon, 29, also is barred under the sentence from employment in any law enforcement position other than public job, from any position or other public, so he can't work for the taxpayers in New Jersey anymore. Now, for him to expunge his record, it's going to take him, what, 7 years, 10 years?
5 now.
It's 5 now for a felony?
Yep.
So, he waits 5 years, he gets that thing expunged, but I think being a police officer, so if he went another state, I think he still has to...
disclose it, depending on the state.
Disclose it. I think here in New Jersey, they have to disclose it,
Yep.
so...
Yep.
But, you know, technically speaking, you and I, you got a felony, you get expunged, you don't have to answer that question. I don't know why any employer outside of law enforcement needs to know that anyway. You're trying to get your life together, and you got a record, and they're gonna like. But here's another thing too. He could get it expunged, and all you gotta do is go run his name, Joe Dixon,
On Google.
on Google. It's all there. So is this expungement really working? I don't think so. All right, the first
You can still own a gun then after that.
Yeah,
Dangerous.
I guess.
Dangerous.
The first incident took place on February 25th, 2018 and involved an arrest. So this is going on 3 years now, right? 19, 20, and 21.
Yeah.
Involved an arrest of a woman on West Main Street on a driving while intoxicated charges. According to the accusation, the woman asked repeatedly to call her husband and twice turned face to Dixon as he tried to handcuff her. Dixon finally grabbed her around the neck and flipped her over his extended leg to the ground, dropping on top of her to handcuff her with help from another officer. Yeah, he broke her ribs, slammed her to the ground, knocked her out of her mind, and he gets a little help. Yeah, can you put the handcuffs on? I haven't choked her out yet.
Her brains are still in her skull.
The woman told Dixon she could not breathe, that her ribs were broken, and I can attest to this. And I remember talking about this in the video. When I was in high school, a very high school that I'm at right now, because I'm down here at Monmouth Regional. And I was on the wrestling team, and one of the guys there thought he was funny, going to do a professional move, and he jumped on top of me and landed on me and screwed up one of my floating ribs. And let me tell you, you can't breathe because you go to extend your lungs, and it was painful. It was absolutely painful, and it took months to get better. Anyway, an investigation found that Dixon failed to report the complaint of broken ribs, instead telling superiors no injuries occurred, so he lied. The woman had 7 broken ribs, and one of them had to be removed. The second incident was on March 24th. Well, this is a month later. 2018 involved a report of a juvenile shoplifting at a supermarket. The juvenile's mother became argumentative because she could not produce identification in order for her juvenile to be released to her. Why do you need identification? The kid says, yeah, that's my mother. I mean, you can look at the kid and see, well, there's a resemblance here. I don't know. What's going on in this world? Where's common sense anymore? Dixon told her that she was under arrest and grabbed her when she moved away from him. He slammed her to the, this guy loves to slam women to the ground. And using pepper spray, the spray came into contact with the bystanders as well, investigators found. Well, don't you usually spray somebody first before you body slam them? The woman
a lot of inconsistencies in their story.
This guy, you know, he's another one. Oh, he needs more training. Yeah. How much training are we supposed to give these idiots? I said this about that. I'm not going to mention his name. I don't want to give any energy to him. But, you know, how much training do you have to give idiots? You can't train an idiot.
You can't train people out of being psychopaths.
Being idiots. Yeah. Stupid, you know, there's a special kind of stupid. Some people are born with it. Well, that's all. It also comes back to, you know, big guys solve problems with violence. Violence is the go-to problem, how they solve problems. So instead of spraying somebody, which might be the rational thing to do after they fail to follow your commands, no, you body slam them and, you know, maybe slam their head to the wall. The woman was taken to the police station, but her relatives had an ambulance waiting for her on arrival. She was taken to the hospital with a bruised hip and burning eyes. Deputy Attorney General, are there any Americans anymore? Brian Ustavinas. Matt's going to help me pronounce words. Ustavinas. Represented the state in the case. Summers Point attorney Andrew Butchko represented Dixon. So that's the story. Anyway, so now let me get back to...
For sake of argument, I have a question for you. Maybe you'll know. With the Audrey Capps, does it say what the result of her DUI charge was? Was she convicted?
She pleaded guilty to that.
Oh, that was silly. That was silly.
Yeah, I think she... well, they probably got her to blow a test there.
But now you see, John, now here would have been the problem. Had Mrs. Capps pled not guilty, Mr. Dixon would have had to testify, which means that he would have been open to cross-examination. Had he been cross-examined as to the concept or the contents of that video, he probably would have taken the Fifth Amendment. Her DUI charge.
You know, look at it this way. I don't know. Would you take 7 broken ribs and have one removed and walk away with a couple $100,000?
With a DUI conviction?
Yeah.
I don't know. Depends.
I don't know. I think I'd take the broken ribs.
And the DUI.
And the DUI.
Yeah.
Because after I get better with the $600,000, I get a lot of hookers and strippers for that money. I'd be feeling good.
You could get Uber for them.
I get Uber. All right, stop doing that. You know, when you hand that, that makes the camera jiggle. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes, okay. A federal, all right, so anyway, this is an update on the lawsuit with Audrey Capps, because she's got an obvious lawsuit against them. It's going to be, she's going to get something. We all know that. There's video action of that.
The question is how much.
And I understand that my original video I put out where it was in slow motion of him body slamming her was used in court. So sometimes some of the things you do inadvertently are used. Now, I never reached out to Audrey Capps way back then. She got a hold of me and thanked me for what I did. So just for the record, I never contacted her. She contacted me way back in the very beginning. I don't talk to her now because there's legal issues going on.
How much do you think she's going to get if you had to guess?
I think she's going to get $600,000. That's the number I'm throwing around. And after the lawyer gets done, she'll probably walk away with $400,000.
Maybe $350,000.
So at the age of 50, she's 53 now, $400,000. That's a nice little retirement.
Especially that part of the state where the cost of living is so much cheaper. They're down in Cumberland County.
Okay, so here it is. This is the update, the recent update on her lawsuit against Dixon and the city of Millville. It says, woman, and this is where Matt Tim's going to chime in because this is his area of expertise.
Is it?
Women,
I mean, it is.
Yes, that's right. You're doing my jokes now. Women, so that those 2 women there got a lawsuit. Win round in lawsuit alleging excessive force by Millville police officer. This is dated May 24th, and it's reported on the Courier Post online.com. And it reads as follows. A federal judge has given a preliminary victory to 2 women suing over separate arrests by Millville policemen. Audrey Capps and Tanika Joyce can pursue claims that Jostin. So what are they saying? They have a legitimate right, a cause of action?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
which means the claims will not be summarily dismissed without a trial.
Okay, so they have a legitimate gripe.
Yep.
Okay, so it's not a frivolous lawsuit.
And the cop can't hide behind qualified immunity either.
Oh, that's interesting. Audrey Capps and Tanika Joyce can pursue claims that Joseph Dixon violated their rights when he threw each woman to the ground during incidents a month apart in 2018, ruled U.S. District Judge Renee Marie Bum. Now, the other question is, I wonder if they're going to break out his use of force and go look at those reports to see what kind of use of force did he have a history of using. Was he doing a lot of hip throws and chokeholds, that kind of violent actions?
Was he a WWF wrestler in training?
Exactly. Takedown sent each woman to an area hospital after their first stop at Millville's police station. Capps, then a 50-year-old who weighed about 100 pounds. I gotta tell you, she's a good-looking woman, too.
Teach their own.
Well, you like a more... He likes a lot more.
Beefy.
He likes a lot more women, if you know what I'm talking about.
I'm a Costco shopper when it comes to women.
Yeah.
More money.
He's he likes those kind of girls you see in Walmart.
No, Costco.
All right, let's not start with this. Each to their own. Capps, then a 50-year-old who weighed about 100 pounds, needed ongoing treatment, including surgery for multiple broken ribs and other injuries, her lawsuit said. Joyce's suit said she complained of a hip injury and shortness of breath. Well, Joyce doesn't have a whole lot of claim. They'll probably make a deal with her.
Now, the bigger issue is, who's paying for this? That's the bigger issue.
Now there's also a subtitle here. It says, lawsuit alleged false testimony by Millville police officer settles for 90. So Millville's a dirty town. All right, so Bum, that's the judge. Decision also found that Millville Police Department, now this, and I'm all for this one, I like this, that the chief, Jody Farabella, could be held liable if a jury found his department allowed officers to use excessive force without consequences. I think if you have over 50 use of forces and you were the poster boy in the state of New Jersey for use of force, I think there's a problem.
Especially when nobody raised an eyebrow.
Right, and when the chief was asked about it, I forget what the exact words, but basically he just said, oh, he's just a good cop doing his job.
I wonder if he still feels the same way now that it's going to be his pocketbook paying for it.
Well, she said Capps' suit sufficiently alleged that Farabella either knew or should have known that Dixon received use of force complaints at a rate far higher than other officers in the department, and that whatever measures he took to correct its issue was insufficient. Well, the question is, from how many years did these use of force take place? Now, we know that the records have only come to light for like the past 5 years. It was that other outside agency that did that, put that whole thing together now.
The use of force report.
Yeah, the use of force report, which the state will refer you to.
And for
now.
all that we know, those last 5 years, John, maybe his entire career, he was only 29 when it ended. Huh.
Bum also declined to dismiss a charge alleging excessive force by a second Millville officer, Brian Orndorff, who took part in Capps' arrest. Her ruling noted officers found to use excessive force during an arrest may also be liable for assault and battery. Louis C. Shapiro, a violent attorney for both women, declined to comment. A. Michael Barker, an attorney for the city and its offices, did not respond to a request for comment. Capps' suit says the Greenwich woman was pulled over on Route 49 on the evening of February 25, 2018 on suspicion of drunken driving. It says she failed a sobriety test. Well, people, once again, never take a sobriety test. The old touch your nose and do the hokey pokey.
And I want to make another point to what you just said. With all these field side sobriety tests, I mean, especially in rural South Jersey, like Route 49, that's farm country. Try doing a field side sobriety test in the middle of a ditch, John, or on a dirt road.
Right.
It's not exactly.
And it was at nighttime.
Yeah, with poor
and
lighting.
Who can trust anything he said? So anyway, Dixon, according to the suit, Dixon put the 5'4" woman in a headlock, lifted her off the ground, then whirled her around in a headlock and violently slammed this much smaller female suspect to the hard pavement below. Dixon fell on a woman with all his weight. The suit says it also alleges Orndorff put his knee and or his weight on Capps' back, assisting Nixon in securing the Capps in handcuffs. Well, I'm going to provide you with the video in slow motion so you can watch the whole thing.
And make your own decision who's telling the truth.
Among other points, the suit alleges Dixon improperly ignored Capps' request to go directly to a hospital, and that his incident report omitted her statement to police that she believed her rib was broken. How stupid can he be? I mean, you got a video of everything that took place of her talking. Joyce sued over a March 28th incident. Joyce, that's the other woman, at a Millville supermarket where Dixon responded, blah, blah, blah. So, both women claim Dixon's action violated their rights under the 4th and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution, including protection against unreasonable seizure. Could you explain to everybody what the 14th Amendment is? Because I don't know what the 14th is.
Okay. Your 4th Amendment right, I'm going to go through the both bases.
Quickly, give me a Reader Digest.
Okay, yes, sir. Your 4th Amendment right protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures.
Yeah, that we know.
Now let's think about the last term in that. You don't hear that as much as the first. Unreasonable seizures. Anytime that your person is detained, it's seized.
Right, you're seized.
Exactly.
This is something we talk about the DWI checkpoints, is they corral you and seize you for the purpose of investigating on you. Anyway,
that's
so
right.
Go ahead. So what is the 14th Amendment?
Your 14th Amendment, that's what that does is that contains a due process clause, and that makes it the Bill of Rights applicable to the states. So before the 14th Amendment was ratified in the 1860s after the Civil War, the state governments didn't have to follow the Bill of Rights. They weren't obligated.
They came up with their own state.
Exactly. They weren't obligated to follow the Bill of Rights.
Okay, so anyway.
So her constitutional rights were violated.
Dixon, who resigned from Millville Police Force after the incident, admitted guilt in November 2019 to 2 counts of aggravated assault in connection with the arrest. His sentence included a lifetime ban on public employment in New Jersey, including law enforcement positions. Dixon, then a 29-year-old Millville resident, received a 2-year probationary term in January 2020. Superior Court Judge Robert Malstein in Cumberland County suspended a 364-day jail term. Dixon's prosecution followed an investigation by the State Attorney General's office. So, all right. So, Tim, quickly, because the sun's coming around, and let me move this thing over here because this is getting brutal on me here. So,
John, I don't know you like that.
all right, Tim, take the camera over and just quickly give your take on what is going on with Audrey Capps and Joe Dixon, the cop.
Okay.
What do you think is going to happen with her? What is the outcome?
I think everybody's going to be running for cover. I think the city's going to take one position.
Do you think they're going to settle that lawsuit?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But the lawyers, they got to make money first prosecuting everything, doing all the hocus pocus.
Well, now, here's the interesting thing, too, John. Now that they brought the civil suit into federal court, do you know what happens? A copy of the civil rights suit gets sent to the U.S. Department of Justice. And believe it or not, there's no double jeopardy for a cop that violates somebody's civil rights. Even if they plead guilty in state court, they can still be charged for federal civil rights violations. And I'll be honest with you, I would not be shocked in the slightest if the U.S. attorney sitting in Trenton or sitting in Camden decided that he was going to look into Mr. Dixon's activities. So Mr. Dixon isn't out of the woods.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to go that far.
I think it could. In a case like this, 50 use of force reports, and then you have...
I mean, you have the video. This shows it right there.
The heinousness of the attack.
The heinousness of it. And then when
You're not in the picture, John.
Slide down a little bit. The heinous of what he did. You know, when you watch the video in real time, yeah, he's flipping around. But when I slowed it down to like 10% of full speed, and you see how he... The impact and how he comes down her, you see the true damage that he did to her, and
she's lucky to be alive.
She is absolutely lucky to be alive. She's lucky her head didn't slam against the pavement, crack her skull or something.
Or her sternum or xiphoid bone didn't go through her heart. She's lucky
that a broken rib didn't puncture a lung or her heart or anything of that nature, because that's one of the things that can happen when you break a rib. It can puncture your lungs, and then you got a real big problem in the end. So. All right, so what do you think the outcome? How much do you think? What do you think the outcome is going to be?
Your original figure of 600, I thought that was pretty dead on, to be honest with you. Only because it's South Jersey, where I feel if this whole event happened in Newark, or even where we are in Monmouth County, I think she'd be looking at 7 figures easy. But because it's South Jersey and everybody has smaller pocketbooks and the cost of living is cheaper, I think she's only going to get about 600 before her lawyer gets his cut and court cost and everything. So she's going to wind up.
Well, the lawyer can get 30%,
33% is customary. Yep.
Plus whatever
court costs, whatever he spent.
Court costs and experts.
She'll wind up with 354. Yeah.
So, and then she got to pay taxes on the $400,000. So she's gonna walk away after the dust settles, $300,000, $320,000.
That's a nice chunk of change for where she's at.
Well, yeah, you know, when you think about it, she's 53 years old, and she's coming into the, you know, the curtain's coming down on her working career. Not that you can't work at 53, but you know, when you get into your 50s, you're starting to slow down and thinking about retiring and things like that. I don't know what her husband does for a living.
What was her occupation? Did it say, or do you?
I don't know.
It's a shame that somebody like that, who, you know, she made an error in judgment or an error in her thinking, getting into herself in a minor situation.
Yeah, there's no doubt she resisted arrest by pulling away. But this cop towers over her. She's not a physical threat to him. He could have said, wait, stop, give me your arm, you know, and then...
Ma'am, what are you doing?
Right, and say, if you don't stop, I'm going to pepper spray you or I'm going to stun gun you. Because they don't. They immediately go right to violence. And I want somebody out there, I know there's some of you cops out there watching me. I want to know why it is every time there's a problem, you immediately have to throw somebody on the ground and do the old dry hump. The dry hump takedown. Because everything I always watch where somebody's acting a little stupid or not cooperating, the cop has to throw them on the ground and dry hump them.
What are they, cats or mating season?
Right, so it's like I did that video, I talked about this before, I talked about up there in Connecticut where the guy was getting evicted from his office and he was upset and everything, and the female cop was doing her best to de-escalate, but then the two cops, you know, they'd had enough and they had to throw the guy on the ground. Now they're wrestling, trying to get the handcuffs on, and I said, why not just get up? While he's on the ground, just get up and say, are you done?
Have you tired yourself out?
Are you done? No, they got to sit there and they got to dry a hump until they mess their pants and get the handcuffs on them. And it's like you look and I go, well, what is this? What is the training? Are you trained out there at the academy that when somebody doesn't cooperate with you, whether it's male or female, that you immediately have to pick them up and slam them on the ground and rub your junk up into them? These are questions we need answered. So maybe some of you bootlickers out there could answer that question.
I like blue goers. I like that term.
Yeah, blue goers. So anyway, this Joe Dixon case is a clear example why I think there should be no more qualified immunity. Officers should be licensed and come with their own liability insurance, just like a doctor, a lawyer, a plumber, a roofer. And I don't buy this crap that, well, nobody's going to want to do the job.
Somebody will be there to do it.
Somebody will be there to do the job. You want to pay me $100,000? I'll tell you what, I'll go do the job. I'll get my liability insurance. I know what it's going to cost me a year. Maybe it's $5,000. Well, you're making $100,000, you pay $5,000 liability. That's nothing.
But their unions would fight it with a vengeance.
Well, of course, the union's the problem of everything.
I think we're only one of 3 states in the whole country where we don't have decertification for police officers. One of 3 out of 50.
We don't even have a license for them.
That's right. That's right.
You want to go cut hair, you got to get a license. You want to give somebody a body rub and a tug, you got to get a license. You got to get a masseuse license.
You want to teach kids, you have to have a license.
You have to get a license.
Yeah.
You want to be a lawyer, you got to get a license. But if you want to go out there and arrest people and take their freedom away from you, no license. Imagine that, and you're not personally held responsible. And the only way you're ever going to clean up police and make them all good cops, because I'm questioning how many good cops are out there, the only way you're going to fix the problem, and I don't care how many programs and how many studies you have and how much training you give these thugs, the only way you're going to fix the problem is they got to have a dog in the fight. And until they got a dog in the fight, it's business as usual with them.
No stake in the game.
Right, there's no dog in the fight. And as far as the body cams, the body cams, they're going to catch a few people. But you know what else the body cam's going to do? It's going to cause more lawsuits because now more cops are going to get caught doing stupid shit.
And not just that, you know, I'm glad you made that point because now it's going to, because the body cams are the same as the dash cams. John, how many times have we seen a disconcerting incident go down, or a very questionable incident, and all of a sudden the dash cam footage is nowhere to be seen?
Well, the problem with the dash cam, you got to be in front of the car. If you're not in front of the car, all you're going to have is an officer wearing a wireless mic.
Or if the officer doesn't turn on the lights.
And if you looked at that cop from Titten Falls, I don't have the video up anymore, but you would clearly see on his vest he had a wireless microphone. And that wireless microphone can malfunction because if he moves too far away from the car and they can't pick the signal up, then
Yep.
So anyway, you got anything closing, or we're gonna finish this video?
No.
All right, this is John Van Dyke, and who are you?
Matt Tim.
For what station?
NJ Exposed.
New Jersey Exposed. Like, share, subscribe. Till next time, people.
It sound right, boys.
It sound right, boy.